2021 is here. Welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, David Haas. Thanks for taking the time to join me. I wanted to do today's podcast just about the start of the new year, what you can do to make sure that 2021 is one of the best years you've ever had in your entire life. And I think ultimately, where we experience the greatest level of happiness is when we are growing, when we are moving up the scale of consciousness. And if you don't know what the scale of consciousness is, don't worry about it. But essentially, it's just elevating our vibration. It's increasing our overall awareness of who we really are and what we're truly here to do on this earth. And the continued effort to get connected to who we truly are is the process of spiritual growth. The continued effort to remove the programs, remove the beliefs, remove the survival patterns that we've bought into, that we've used to protect us from feeling any pain, is the process of spiritual growth. And as we grow spiritually, as we move up the scale of consciousness, we become happier in general. We experience more abundance. Our life just becomes better. It becomes easy. There is no more force. Everything goes from a place of force to a place of flow. And you just really, truly enjoy your life. If I look back at my level of happiness 10 years ago to my level of happiness now, it's like, it's off the charts. It's not even scale at the life I'm experiencing now. So what I wanted to do is just tune into that growth and making sure that we actually know what it is or how it is that we want to grow. Like, if you don't ever ask the question of or don't ever ask the universe for what it is that you want, then how is the universe or God or whatever your understanding is, how is it ever going to move you in that direction? So what I like to do at the start of every single year is I like to plan out my year, right? And I'm planning out my year based on what I want from my overall life. Okay. So you have to have, first and foremost, a life goal. And I've done an extensive podcast on planning and the power of planning and things that get planned and things that get done. You can go back and listen to that. I'm not exactly what your podcast that is, but I really go into detail on how I plan. I also released a video on YouTube and then physically showing you on my calendar how I plug in my days. Okay. So, but at the beginning of every year, it's just such a great time to plan. We have the energy of the new year and, we're ready to get going, but we really want to just make sure we take the time to ask what it is that we want to do, or we want to write out what it is that we want out of this year. So for me, it's funny because my goals have changed over the years. Before it was about levels of success and, earning more money. And now they've become a lot more spiritual, where I wanted to continue to let go of what is holding me back from achieving my spiritual goals. And I don't even like using the word goals and spirituality, because spirituality is just so nonlinear. You can't really go step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It just kind of is all over the place. But then all of a sudden you'll experience moments where you're like, oh, I just made a major spiritual shift in my life. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about those shifts that we want to create. But ultimately, the first section here is just, if you haven't already done planning out my life, then you have to start there, right? So what is it that you want from this life? Just write it all out, like everything, whatever comes to mind, right? You just want to write it all out and get it all on paper. So, one of the goals for me is enlightenment. I want to continue to move towards getting as connected as I possibly can to the states of enlightenment, which is the states of love, peace, joy. And I need to put into practice that. I need to make sure that I'm moving towards that goal over the course of this year. So how am I going to do it? Well, I'm going to read more books. I'm going to spend more time in meditation. I actually have a retreat plan that I'm going to take part in if we are ever allowed to travel again. And this is how I'm going to move closer to that goal. So what I write in my yearly goals is, okay, well, what is the process that I'm going to go through this year in order to move me closer to my goal of enlightenment, which is a huge goal, right? And I may never get there, but I know that just by moving closer to enlightenment, my life is going to dramatically improve. So it's no big deal if I don't get there. My life is just continually improving by getting better. Okay, so After you've done your life, then you can break it down into your year. And then once you have your yearly goals, like how would you be so happy? Like what would you be so happy with if this is like the best year of your entire life? What would actually happen? But you have to be realistic also. It's like if you have $10 in the bank and you want to have $1 million in the bank by the end of the year, it's not impossible. But you just want to be realistic with the goals and like say, what would be really great this year if I did? And so maybe if you only have $10 in the bank, maybe it's saving 10,000. Okay. If you're angry all the time, maybe it's about learning how to transcend the state of anger. If your relationship sucks, maybe it's about improving your relationship. Whatever it may be, you just want to get this down onto a piece of paper. Now, this is when it gets really critical, and this is where I spend a lot of time at the beginning of the year. It's like I'm really just looking at those overall life goals. I'm putting into, okay, how can I make this year move me towards my overall life goals, right? And then I just write out those, and then I take from the year, I break it down into the month. Okay, January is here. New Year's resolutions, all this stuff is happening. What am I going to do this month that's going to move me closer to my yearly goals? And then I break it down one step further, and I do this on a weekly basis. Every Sunday night, I'm writing out what am I going to do this week that's going to move me closer to my yearly goals. Now, this is where I kind of have that claim to where, you see a lot of my content where I say I can get more done in a week than most people get done in a month. And the reason for that is because I've actually truly experienced it. This is not something that I'm just preaching. It's that I've actually truly experienced it. And I know this because I wrote out my monthly goals saying, okay, this is what I want to get done for the month. And multiple times throughout my life, I've been able to get done my monthly goals in a week. Okay. So this is why planning is just so important. And it's not even so much of the planning of it. It's really just the actual asking, for what it is that you want out of this world, right? And I don't even like using the word want, but what it is you want to achieve, where you're heading, by holding those things in mind, they're going to attract to your life. Dr. David Hawkins has always been said that what we hold in mind tends to manifest. So if we're holding in mind states of fear, states of anger, shame, guilt, we're going to continue to attract more of that into our life. So we just want to ask for what it is that we want. If we're angry, we want to be happy. If we're miserable, we want to learn how to experience states of joy. If we're in scarcity, we don't have enough, we want to experience states of abundance. So we just need to ask for that, right? And then make a plan to move towards it. The next thing I want to talk about is because we as human beings are very egocentric, meaning we only care about getting. And that's what the ego was designed to do. It was to get so that we could experience more. But as you learn to move up the scale of consciousness, you begin to transcend that ego and life becomes less about getting, right? And when life becomes less about getting, you start to become aware of what it is that you've been buying into and how it is affecting your life in negative ways. So let me give you an example from my own life. The biggest challenge, I believe, to this point that I've had to overcome is my desire, all right? My desire for more. And I know from the work that I've done that there is nothing that I need to add into my life in order to feel what it is I want to feel by obtaining more. Let me just say that again. There's nothing that I or you need to add into your life to feel the way you want to feel by obtaining more. You can obtain the feeling that you're seeking from within, from the process of spiritual growth, from letting actually go of desire. And this has been, over the last probably 2 months, this has been the biggest, I think, turnaround realization for me, is that my desire for more is what is actually preventing more to coming into my life. Secondly, desire for more is completely useless. And this is a hard one to wrap your mind around because we believe that our desire is what is actually bringing what it is that we want into our life. And you see it all over the place, right? You see people that are rich and they said, I just wanted it so bad, and I've grinded and I hustled and I sacrificed. And what I want to suggest to you here today is that there doesn't have to be a grind, a hustle, or a sacrifice. It will just happen. Okay, so here's an example. If you're driving home and you're late for dinner with the family, and you really want to get home, and you're behind the wheel and you're stressed and you're squeezing the wheel tight and you're trying to drive fast and you're trying to take shortcuts and get around people, and you desire to be home so bad, you want to get home so badly, that desire or that wanting is not actually getting you home any quicker. Maybe in some cases, yeah, it might get you home 30 seconds quicker, right? But ultimately, you're going to get home no matter what. Whether you have the desire to get home or not, you're going to be able to get home. You're following the same path. One is stress, worry, over needing to get there, comparison, all of these things. The other one is relaxed, sit back, listen to the music, and just allowing your car to drive you home, essentially. And eventually one day our cars will just drive us home, which will be funny. But I really like that analogy because I think everyone can relate to it. It's like when you want to get somewhere really bad, the desire to want to get there isn't doing anything for you. You're going to get there no matter what, right? So this can be applied into whatever it is that you want to attract into your life. If you want to have $1 million in the bank, desiring the $1 million is not bringing the $1 million into your bank anymore. Yeah, do you want to create a plan? Do you want to create your life goals and your year goals and your monthly goals and your weekly goals? Yeah, 100%. But there's no need to want it. It will just happen if you continue to move forward. The wanting is just creating added pressure. So what I've really been tuning into for myself is just letting go of that wanting. And I'll tell you, I have never felt more relaxed than I feel in the last 2 months. Because you can get very caught up in this world of do more, be more, Gary V, rah, this kind of stuff. And I love Gary V and I love his message. And but when we get caught up in this grind, hustle, sacrifice, always having to be doing, always need to be experiencing more, it's fucking exhausting. And I think one of the realizations I made was like, if I thought to myself the other day, if I won the lottery, what is it I would actually do? Like, what would I actually do if I won the lottery? And yeah, of course I would buy the house and, I would travel and do all that stuff. But it's like, yeah, that's all great. And once you've experienced all that, it's like, my desire for all that stuff is already gone. So I'm not even really, it's like, it's about the security and the freedom. And so the answer that I came up with is I would do less, right? I would just do what it was I would want to do, and then allow myself to, not be going so hard every day. And I was like, oh, well, I can just do that right now. I can design business models, coaching programs where I don't need to be grinding and hustling and trying to stay up and keep up with the Joneses and notice what this coach is doing. And, I can just come up with things that are truly creative and things that inspire me and things that bring me real joy and just do them, right? And let go of all the pressure of wanting it, right? And so that was like a kind of a revelation for me. And I have one of my clients, and I said, why are you working? Like, his big thing is he's working hard and he's grinding and he's killing it. Like, he's doing great. And I said, well, why are you doing all this? And he's like, so I can relax. And I was like, well, okay, but you can relax right now, right? And this is for me too. So I think this is the one thing I want to bring into your awareness about this is about spiritual growth is like, it's great to have all of these goals. I love goals. I love goal setting and goal achievement. It's fun. It's I feel great, and that's why I feel we are at our best is when we are becoming better, right? But we can become better without the pressure to become better. I think that's the point I'm trying to make here. We can become better without the pressure to become better. We just do. There's no need to want it. Okay. The second thing is that I've really been tuning into lately, and this is for me is about spiritual growth, is becoming aware of the payoff that I have to holding on to lower states of consciousness or personality traits that aren't serving me. So let me give you another example for this for me, and this is one that I just tuned into recently, and this is twofold. The first part was I've had a big issue in my life with my addiction to sugar, sweet things, and I've already traced it back, and I know that it's like I have given food energy, and there's this lesson in the Course in Miracles where you look at anything in the room. You could look at this computer and say, I've given this computer all of its meaning, right? It's like the computer is neutral, and we give it meaning. We give it, oh, this is a tool for me to get my work done. This is my connection to the world, whatever it may be. And I've done the same thing with food. I've given sugar, whatever, ice cream, let's say, I've given it its meaning, and the meaning I've given it is this is where I experience states of joy and happiness. Okay, but the ice cream is neutral, right? I've given it that meaning. So recently I've been detoxing, getting off all the sugar, and the thing that's been coming into my awareness is that sugar was a block to me to experiencing advanced states of consciousness. When I'm eating sugar, drinking pop, I am less connected to my emotions. So not only did I give it this meaning of peace and joy and happiness, but I also now realize that it was helping to numb out all of the emotional states that I didn't want to experience anymore. So it was a survival pattern. Eating sugar helped me feel better so I don't feel the negative states of emotion. So interestingly, as I quit sugar and I was off it for a week or so, I started experiencing like negative emotions. Okay, so the one negative emotion that I was experiencing was I was noticing that when people that are close to me aren't, I guess, inviting to me, like, how can I'm not really explaining that very well. Well, let me just give you the example. So because of COVID and this type of things, my family, on one side of my family, was very like, hey, we're not going to do anything because we want to be cautious. And I respect and accept everyone for where they're at with regards to COVID. I'm not taking any positions. I understand that everyone's in certain spots, but I became aware of, because I was clear, because I was free of the sugar, I became aware of I was catching myself like really dismissing them, right? Being like, yeah, okay, well, whatever, you don't want us over. And just like shutting them down. And then it became like really clear to me that that's what I've been doing my whole entire life. If I'm not feeling loved, that's what it is. If I'm not feeling loved by other people, I am very quick to say, yeah, that's fine. I don't need you in my life. And now I could see how this isolated me and actually made me feel more of what I didn't want to feel, which was unloved. Because now I'm isolating myself, and when you're isolated, you're not feeling loved at all, right? So I could see in this moment how that cycle in my life had been repeating and making me feel more and more isolated. The lie that I had told myself is that I wanted to be isolated, right? And the payoff that I got, actually, I don't even know what the payoff is as I'm just tuning into this and like feeling it right now. The payoff that I probably was getting was the victim, and it was self-pity, right? And I maybe turned it into anger a little bit. They don't want to be around me. Oh, fine, fuck them, right? And there's fuel there, right? So all of these realizations I was having just by becoming clear from sugar and tuning into these emotions, and then I was like, oh my goodness, it's like I've been doing this my whole entire life, and this is why I was feeling isolated on my own and not feeling loved, not allowing that love to come through. So once I became aware, I was like, oh my goodness, I've been doing this my whole entire life. So immediately, the one thing I did was I was like, I better message every single person that I didn't get to see this year and message them Merry Christmas and Happy New Year and all these things. So I went around and went through my list of all my friends and family and just send out a message to everyone. I did the reverse of what I normally would do, which was further isolate myself. So this is the process of spiritual growth. This is the process of becoming aware of the feelings. The third thing about this whole little instance that I had in my life was that the resistance to sending out that message to my friends and family was insane. Like, it was on a scale of 1 to 10, it was like 8. And it was because I had been that way my entire life, 42 years. I've been that way my whole entire life. And that is who I had become. I had become this person that keeps everyone at arm's length. I'd become this person that doesn't allow people in. Once I felt a little tiny bit unloved, even though it wasn't even unloving on their end, but that's the way I perceived it, I shut people out, right? Further isolate myself. Then I began to feel more of the emotions I didn't want to feel, which was unloved. So I've been doing this my whole entire life, and this is who I had become. So now when I'm saying, hey, I don't want to be this way anymore, but then I could feel the tug of the ego saying, no, like, come on, they don't know what they're talking about, right? Like, they're wrong, you're right. I could just feel the ego just saying, don't change. We've been doing this for a long time, and it's been working pretty well for us. Look where you're at in your life. Like, this is the things that I'm hearing in my head. And this is the resistance I'm tuning into. And then I had to be aware of it. And just the awareness alone allowed me to overcome it, right? And that's when I was able to send out the message. But there was still resistance, but I was able to do it because I was aware of it. Before I had quit the sugar, I was unaware of this whole pattern and cycle that I was going through in my life. So let me recap, and how are you going to use this is ultimately what you want to learn by listening to this podcast. Well, there's a few things. One is, without the awareness of a problem, we cannot resolve the problem. So we want to remove anything in our life that is blocking us feeling emotions. Okay? So there's a lot of things that block emotions, right? There's overworking, there's overdrinking, there's using drugs, there's porn and masturbation, there's eating sugar like it was for me, there was escape into television, Instagram, The ego has done an amazing job of making sure that we never feel pain of emotions. The unfortunate part is that these patterns that the ego has created to make us not feel these emotions are not serving us in any way. The next thing that we need to realize is, now that we've realized what we are doing to numb ourselves, if we remove what it is that we're numbing ourselves, the next thing is these emotions are going to come to the surface. And then we're going to be like, oh, fuck. What do I do with them now, right? And here's the key to becoming free of the emotions and all of the patterns and beliefs and personality traits and behaviors that we have created to make sure we never felt them will go away if we just allow ourselves to experience that emotion that we've been avoiding our entire lives. And this is the process of letting go. Okay, so removing the distraction will bring the emotion to the surface, and when the emotion's at the surface, it then becomes into our awareness, right? And just the awareness alone of what we're doing will begin to change it. Now that I'm aware that I'm keeping people at arm's length, I can stop doing that. I can notice it and say, oh, there's my old ego pattern again. Let me do the opposite, right? But the second thing is to go deep into that emotion and allow ourselves to feel it in the body, tune into how it feels, sit with it in a meditation, and allow that emotion to be felt fully until it no longer has any more power. The crazy thing about emotions is that if you actually allow yourself to feel an emotion, the energy behind that emotion, if you truly fully connect without resisting it, without venting it, without expressing it, if you just truly allow yourself to fully connect to that emotion, the energy behind that emotion can be gone in like 90 seconds. Okay? So once you become free of that, the third thing though is, now that you've removed what is blocking you, you've now tuned into the emotion and felt it fully. The third thing is to now install the new habits and behaviors by using the power of the mind, which has power over the emotions. So when those emotions come up, like someone is not giving me the love that I think that they should be, my regular response, my old ego pattern response would be like, okay, well, you're going to hurt me. Well, I'm just going to put you over here so I don't have to worry about being hurt again. Well, now I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to say, oh, now let me bring you closer. Right? Let me reach out to you instead of waiting for you to reach out to me. And this is the process of spiritual growth. I just walked you through it through my own example. So 2 things that I'm going to be working on big time this year is continuing to let go of that desire and coming to I already believe it, No. I know it. I don't fully believe it. So there's still a little bit of that desire that's working inside of me that I need to continue to work on. The second thing is watching for the resistance to letting those emotions go, right? And just becoming aware of the resistance might be the only thing that we need to do to become free of it. So when we're making this list, this is what I want you to do. When you make your list of goals for 2021, what you want, if the year was the best year you've ever had in your entire life, make the list. Don't be shy. Write every single thing down. Take 20 minutes to do this exercise. It's really an empowering exercise. Then what I want you to do at the end of this is say, I surrender all desire for these items over to a higher power of my understanding. Knowing that just by doing, it will come into our lives. Just by asking, we will continue to move forward towards what we asked for. But there is no need to want it. Just do it and it will come. It's literally that simple. Just become aware of it and it'll come. Let go of all the desire, all the pressure, all the grind, all the sacrifice, all the hard work, and just be at ease. And you're going to continue to move towards whatever it is that you want to achieve in your life. And it's really that simple. It's actually really that simple. So I hope that this podcast served you. I am still in the process of switching the podcast name. It is still under Rise Up Rich, but it will be the David F. Haas podcast very soon. So just keep an eye on that. You might have to switch something in your player. I don't actually know how it works. But if you're getting something from the podcast, you might want to just keep an eye on when that podcast does switch so that you're still getting notified. But I think you will still get notified. Anyways, thanks for taking the time. Happy New Year. I'm looking forward to 2021, pandemic or not, to being the best year of my life, and I hope the same for you. So thanks for taking the time to tune in. See you next Wednesday.